And again, today's webinar is by Conor Cunneen, Stay Sane, Motivated, Productive Right Now. And Conor is an internationally recognized, sought-after keynote speaker, facilitator, and consultant whose clients range from the Harley-Davidson to Helsinki and Memphis to Madrid. He is a Chicago Humor Speaker of the Year. And as an Irishman, he is particularly proud to have received from President Obama the President's Gold Medal for volunteer service for all the work he does with the unemployed. So welcome, Conor.
Thank you, Kevin, and welcome everyone to this presentation on staying sane, motivated, and productive during these rather challenging times. Now, I'm sure everyone is absolutely living the dream right now. And I'm sure also some of you are probably thinking that you have something in common with Rod Blagojevich. Indeed, because when Rod was put away unfairly many years ago, like we feel as if we're held captive unfairly right now, Rod actually had problems with his hair coloring as well, and his hair went grey. So actually there's quite a few of you are probably in the same situation right now as Rod. And when I actually think about it, the fact that Rod now is actually kind of being held in captivity again right now is probably proof that God is God's way of saying that Rod should not have been let out in the first place. But anyway, what I want to do briefly and with a little bit of humor as well is to provide you with some really solid ideas to help you to stay sane, motivated, and productive during this situation. Every one of us, I think, is struggling a little bit. But what I do believe is that this is a mind game. And there are some really simple things that each of us can do to stay sane, motivated, and productive. Now, one of the guys that I follow on Twitter is a guy by the name of Peter Shankman, a well-known speaker, very good content. He tweeted a couple of days ago that if he sees anyone else making the comment about this whole situation being unprecedented, he would lose it. So I tweeted back something like, I can't believe the number of people who made smart comments about unprecedented before I could make any smart comments about unprecedented. In fact, it's unprecedented. Now, why do I say that? I use that a little example there. We really are in an unprecedented situation, which I think means we got to take some unprecedented actions as well. And things that in some situations might seem a little bit goofy, right now, we've got to address some things that would help us to stay sane, motivated, and productive that you wouldn't necessarily normally do. So let's have a look at what we want to talk about. I'm going to share the screen, got a PowerPoint slideshow, and we are off. So, staying sane, motivated, and productive during the situation. Now, the ideas from this actually came from a book that I published a few years ago titled Sheaf Gab, which is the acronym for 8 building blocks to staying sane, motivated, and productive. During job search that was, but the ideas can really be relevant today. Now, I'm not going to give you any of those, I'm not going to give you those 8 building blocks. That just ain't going to be possible. But what I am going to concentrate on are the environment that we're in right now, that you're in right now, and also I'm going to talk very briefly about family and friends. And we'll address those, and I think if you adopt and adapt some of the ideas that I'm putting out to you here, it will help you to stay sane, motivated, and productive. Now, the first thing what I'm talking about, we'll talk about is environment. And here's a question for people. I'm not able to see what the answers might be, Kevin. Maybe you can keep track of it. But who knows what this device is? Some of you in the healthcare sector might be able to spot it straight away. I won't, I see a few people that have come in with it's an MRI scanner, which it is. Right. Now, who knows what this is? It is actually an MRI scanner as well. Now, we're creatures of our environment, and the environment that we're creating right now is one that will determine whether or not we're going to be productive and whether we can actually stay sane and motivated during this situation. Why am I showing you these? These actually come from a concept that General Electric have worked on, geared towards making the medical environment easier and happier for kids and for parents. So if you're a parent who's bringing a child into a hospital for an MRI, and by the way, I got most of this idea from a wonderful TEDx presentation by a gentleman by the name of Doug Dietz, D-I-E-T-Z. He's an engineer with General Electric, and he came up with this idea of creating the right environment for the kids. So if you're bringing your kids in to be checked with an MRI scan, would you think the kid is going to be happier here? Or would you think the kid is going to be happier here? Or here, MRI machine, or here, right? And I would bet any money now, if I was able to see you on the screens or on this Zoom right in front of us now, I would think that you'll probably have a smile on your face now where you did not have a few minutes ago. Why? Because simple little things can make a difference to how we feel about ourselves. And I'll give you some ideas as to how you can address that in a few minutes. This is another example of the MRI machine in a different environment. But again, it's welcoming, makes people feel happy. Exactly the same product functionality, but different environment and different presentation. So when I want to talk about environment here, I'm going to talk about something you might think is crazy: your commute to work, your workspace, and your meeting space. Now, what is he talking about, the commute to work? I go from my kitchen into my office space. Right, gang, think about it. This is a mind game. It's a mind game. And we got to try and work on how we address this situation with unprecedented kind of actions. So when we were not stuck in our, do work from home office. Some of you I know probably do as well. But when you were in your previous pre-COVID-19, when you were commuting to work, you would get up, you would dress, you would go into the metro or whatever it is, make deliberate, intentional actions to go to work. And when you go to work then, you're actually in a different workspace. Now what happens is you get up and you just kind of ramble into an office or a workspace area. You're not actually doing the physical or psychological effort to commute to work. So I'll give you an example of what I actually do to commute to work, interested whether anyone feels that they can adopt it or adapt it for their environment. But this is my commute to work every morning. Okay, but before we do that though, I want to talk to you about the dreaded numb bum-itis, which is an affliction that is hitting so much of the United States right now. And it basically causes angst and anxiety, and is caused primarily because of so many people spending their time on Zoom. So how do you avoid getting a numb bum? Simple little exercises we can do. Number one, to avoid getting the numb bum is push your chair back from your desk. Okay. Number two, to avoid numb bum-itis, put your hands on the armrest and push yourself up. Number three, to avoid numb bum-itis, is push up, stand up, and spend some time standing rather than sitting. That is how you prevent numb bum-itis, my people. Now, I've actually done a little limerick on it. Is here's how you stop numb bum-itis, more draining than any cystitis. So next time you Zoom, just stand in the room, don't let it come back up to bite us. All right? Now, I said we're talking about unprecedented things here. We are spending an unprecedented amount of time sitting down in front of a computer or in front of a monitor that we were not used to doing previously. I'm being kind of trying to put it in a funny way here, but what it actually does result in is not just a numb bum, but a numb brain as well a lot of the time. And one of the things I would challenge each person right now who is watching this webinar is I'm going to ask you, why are you sitting down? this is just a 30-minute webinar. And one of the questions that I know came in from some of the people who are registering, one of the questions is, how do you avoid Zoom fatigue? One of the ways you avoid Zoom fatigue, I believe, is that instead of sitting all of the time, just do a little bit of standing from time to time. So that's the number on my list. Now, I want to take you through the commute to work and my commute to work. So this is my regular desk space here in my office. First thing in the morning, okay? Now, first thing in the morning, I do not actually work in this desk space here. What I do is I commute to work. I've turned off my computer the previous night. I now actually take up the computer. I take it out of my office, bring it in through the kitchen. Here you can see it's an exhausting effort to move my computer. And then what I do is I land the computer on my kitchen table. We're an empty nester, so I've got that space. But what it is, though, is it's a physical and a psychological thing to say that I'm going from my home to my workplace. And I would ask you to ask yourself, how can you actually create some kind of activity that says I am psychologically and physically going from home to the workspace? All right, that would be the first thing I would put to you. Now, other things that you can actually do to change the workspace that will help you to stay sane, motivated, and productive in this situation is, here I am sitting at the kitchen table again, using my laptop in this case, but I normally actually take my PC because it's just more of a physical thing to take it out of my office. But also what I'm doing here is, all right, aha, I was caught in flagrant delicto, or whatever the phrase is here, all right? Here I'm sitting at my office desk with actually one of two chairs that I sit on. This is kind of more of a kitchen table chair, but sometimes I just prefer to sit on this rather than my executive chair. So that's one situation, workspace. Here I am, I'm standing at my workspace. I've got the razor. It's a different kind of environment and situation. Here I am on the other side of the desk, again, changing my environment. So I'm not doing the same thing in the same place at the same time, day after day. And I do think that one of the things that will drive us crazy is doing the same thing in the same place at the same time, day after day. And it's guaranteed to drive us crazy. So here's another example. I've got my podcast and all other stuff set up there as well. Kevin, have we any comments or questions? I can't see when I'm screen sharing. So do you want to make any comment or any questions at the moment?
No, everyone's just commenting how they also stood up when you made that advice. And we got a couple of heroes here, Julie and folks, Cindy. So I think they're all standing as they're hearing this. So thank you.
All right. If we were really at a later time of the day, we could be standing with a pint of Guinness or a bottle of whiskey or something like that. But that's not today's discussion.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. Okay. All right. Right. Hold on. Okay. So no. Bear with me for one sec. I said workspace, commute space, meeting space. One of the things when you think back to your previous environment prior COVID-19, you used to not have meetings in the same place all of the time. So I would bet probably the vast majority of people here on this call have their Zoom meetings from the same chair, in the same room, day after day. With the technology we've got now, whether it's a laptop or whether it's a phone you do some of your Zoom calls on, why not change the meeting room? Instead of having the meeting at your desk the whole time, why not bring it to another room in the house, maybe even a bedroom? You've got to be reasonably careful with the background, obviously. But I think there are simple little ways that you can change how you feel and think about the meeting. And when you do that, you're going to feel better about yourself, you're going to feel sharper, and you're going to feel less stressed as well. So now I want to talk to you about family and friends for a couple of seconds time, because if you're in a family environment, I'm blessed. My bride has been suffering my presence for so many years, and she's suffering my presence right now as well. But I'm blessed we get on really well. But at the same time, though, you got to be careful. I mean, We got married for better or for worse, not to be stuck in a house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you've got to, I think, ask yourself what kind of environment you personally are creating for the people around you. And I'll give you a little illustration here of how we can cause some tension in family situations. Let's assume that when you were going for your last job, you used to get to work at 6:30 in the morning. And the main reason why you got to work at 6:30 in the morning was because you wanted to get your favorite parking spot. And you, for the last 4 years and 3 months and 2 weeks and 1 day, I have actually deliberately set my phone to do this. I meant to say it to you previously. One of the simple ways to stay sane and productive during this situation is I set my phone timer. I use the, what is it, the tomato sauce method, the Pomodoro method. So always sounds like tomato sauce to me. I use the Pomodoro method, set my phone normally for about 29 minutes. And what I normally do, didn't do it here, is I would normally put the phone over on another table or desk. So I've got to get up from my desk to go over and turn off the phone. My original idea was to play some loud rock and roll music on this phone and connect it to my system. So it would play automatically. I'll have to go upstairs to turn the phone off. But Bluetooth. But for some reason, Bluetooth doesn't work for alarms. But the idea is, again, find ways to get up from your desk on a more regular basis. And a simple way is, don't just use the tomato sauce method, the Pomodoro method, but actually use that, but to put the alarm somewhere that you're going to have to get up. Right, family and friends. Let's assume that you were getting to work at 6:30, and for the last 4 years, 3 months, 2 days, 2 weeks and 1 day, you've been able to get your favorite parking spot. Then one terrible Tuesday, 4 years, 3 months, 2 weeks and 2 days, when you've been getting your favorite parking spot, you arrive in and someone has taken your parking spot. Good God. Sorry, I'm getting agitated here. Now, your first reaction is to get a little bit annoyed. You want to kind of key the car of that person, but now you're driving one of these newfangled cars that have only got key fobs, so you can't key the car. You want to kind of slash the tires, but you can't do that because the last time you went through TSA, they took the knife away from you. But your first reaction is to get annoyed and frustrated. Now, it's not logical, but it is human. It's not logical, but it is emotional. Now, what has that got to do with you trying to stay sane, motivated, and productive right now? The reason why you got annoyed there was someone has taken your parking spot. What I want to put to you, those of you who are isolating with family, friends, or spouses right now, is ask yourself, are you taking parking spots at home right now? Are you doing things that are almost guaranteed to annoy other people? Simple little examples might be, are your workspace, if you're working in the kitchen or one of the other tables, was that workspace being used for other activity before you had to get involved in this home work from home? Was this, or is this workspace needed for breakfast, for dinner or something like that, and you don't clear it up? Just simple little things like that. Television. I know we can watch most of our programming on so many different devices, but are you or is someone in your house hogging all of the television programming? If someone takes a parking spot from you, you get annoyed. Ask yourself, are you taking parking spots from other people in this situation? Kevin, any comments or questions?
Nope, just thinking about all the spaces I took this morning.
I tell you, it is something that really resonates with people, and they realize, wow, I think I'm trying to be good and friendly and capable in the environments I create, but I'm actually impacting other people. Now, the other question I want to put to your family and friends is that I want to talk to you about another question you can put to yourself, and this is a question on when we get down and we get frustrated, and it's so easy to do, but it ain't going to help us. So the question that you can ask yourself that will help you in this situation, and I'm encouraging you to really think about it, is a question I ask myself each night before I go to sleep, and I ask myself a few times during the day. The question is, what do I want my attitude to be? What do I want my attitude to be? I'll give you an example. Let's assume that before you got on this conference call or a webinar, you actually went out for a walk or a break from the salt-consuming morass. As you were going out for the break, you said to your teenager, will you record a program on television for me? Okay. You come back from having a nice walk, you're feeling much better about yourself because you've changed your environment, and you say to the teenager, well, did you record the program on television? And the teenager will probably give you some kind of an example, face like this, like a scalded cat, okay? And the teenagers think, oh my God, what was I supposed to have done? So your first reaction is to get a little bit annoyed and miffed, which is kind of understandable, because the program you wanted to see was the 72nd rerun of the 7th episode of Survivor 2011, but you really wanted to see it again, okay? So now, having come back from your walk, feeling good about yourself, suddenly you're in a funk, the teenager is in a funk, your spouse isn't speaking to you, the cat is kind of scalded around the place, the dog now is running away from home, and the cats are actually running around the little gramophone player at 100 revolutions per second also. And you've also then got hamsters running around at 100 revolutions per second saying to themselves the question they should ask, which is, what do I want my attitude to be? Because in this situation, gang, if you ask yourself the question, what do I want my attitude to be? With that teenager, you're not going to say, I want to be angry. You're not going to say, I want to be annoyed. If you ask yourself the question, what do I want my attitude to be, before you go to bed tonight? Now, you might have had a hard day, a tough day, but if you ask yourself the question, what do I want my attitude to be, before you go to bed, and say, all right, tomorrow morning, I want my attitude to be when I wake up is I want to feel happy, buoyant, or feel good, or at least want to do something productive. It is a powerful question that can really make a big difference to everyone that is on this call. If you ask, what do I want my attitude to be when your spouse is getting on your nerves right now, or when the kids are doing your head in, you know what the answer is going to be. It's not going to be in the negative. It's a really powerful question that can make a real difference to how people are viewing this situation. They're basically the key points I want to cover in this little presentation here. A couple of other quick little ones. Believe it or not, in terms of changing the environment, and if I'd be interested if people have some ideas as to how they can change their environment that they're working in right now. If anyone wants to make some comments on that. Right now, for the first time in my life, as I indicated, I actually do close down my computer every single night. Never ever did it before. And in fact, the first time I did it a few weeks ago, I had to try and figure out where the actual start button on the computer was. Okay. Second thing that I do is I try now to every single day, anyone who tells me they're watching this in their pajamas, I'm sure they won't tell me, but I don't think it's a good idea. Every single day, I actually dress better now than I did when I was in my regular work days previously from working at home. Why? Because I believe this is a mind game. I do a Facebook every Friday, an idea I got from friends in Ireland. They do something called Formal Friday. And the basic idea is in the homework environment right now, they actually dress up in their best tux and whatever it is, and actually work the day during that. I now do a Formal Friday myself. Why? This is a mind game. What are the things that make you feel good? And finally, what I would say to you is that my darling granddaughter knows the difference between the weekdays and the weekends. Do you know the difference right now between the weekdays and weekends? Maggie, my little darling granddaughter, will be 3 in June. She says she likes the weekends because I can watch television and I can wear my pajamas. All right. Her parents have made it very clear that Monday to Friday is still kind of homeschooling or whatever way they're trying to work it. The weekend is for relaxation. I would ask you, do you look forward to the weekend? If you don't look forward to the weekend, I would ask you to find some things to plan for this weekend. It's Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to everyone on the call here. But this weekend, find things that you know you will enjoy doing. Plan to do them. That's actually the first element in my book's sheet about structure. Plan to do them. Look forward to them, and change what you do on Saturday and Sunday compared to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay? That's what I wanted to cover very briefly. Kevin, any comments or thoughts on what we have done?
No, that was great, Conor. Thank you. Maybe we could take a couple questions that came in, and you guys can use the chat if you want. But what about the, how do I maintain focus with all the different distractions? We got people coming and going, people knocking on doors. Some of us may have, roommates and things of that nature. So how do you keep that?
It's obviously not easy, and for the people who are asking questions like that, definitely not easy. I do think that we're going to be deliberate and intentional in what we do, Kevin, and have a good idea of even just small micro goals. I refer to them as that you can achieve today. So when I'm starting off the day, I've just got 2 or 3 things that I know I can achieve. So for me, for instance, the first thing I do in the morning is I do yoga. The second thing I do before I do anything else is I write 3 limericks around COVID-19. All right? And I know if I don't do those, my day isn't starting off well. The other way you can stay focused, a few people I know are doing this, they actually just get onto a Zoom call with someone else, turn off the camera, and they say, all right, I'm going to be working on activity for the next hour. You're going to be working on activity for the next hour. If we need to talk, well and good, but we're actually kind of being accountability partners for each other. It's like someone is in the cubicle next door to you. You know they're there, but you're not actually talking to them.
Great. What about dealing with the Zoom or meeting fatigue? Some of us are going from one call or one Zoom back to back to back to back to back.
Right. I get it, my man. I get it. It's a challenge, but I do think the ways to do it are not be having the Zoom meeting in the same room the whole time. Find places where you can do it a little bit differently. Stand when you're doing it. Simple little things like that can make a difference. And also what I would say is that I'll try and find some way during that Zoom meeting to put a smile on someone's face. Compliment 1 or 2 people in that Zoom meeting. The power of a compliment is incredible. And if you compliment someone, they're going to feel better about themselves. You've set it as a little goal. You're going to feel better about yourself as well. You'll get better interaction.
Great. I think that's it for now.